Namaste, everyone. I'm kind of nervous here, standing, seeing you all looking at me. My topic today is also related to something that made me anxious about a lot of things. As you can see on the slide, the tiger here is talking about global warming. So, I am going to present about climate anxiety today. What are the experiences that I have been going through during the course of climate anxious? So, my first encounter with climate anxiety was when I got chance to participate in climate strike. It was in September 2019, where I was standing with a lot of young individuals, including 15 plus youth-led organizations, shouting for demand that our future is unpredictable. We need tangible actions. And then that was the first day that I encountered climate anxiety. Many of us feel what like anxious is, what anxiety is, and the mental health issues we go through. But less of us talk about it, and less than that know what we are going through. So, as you can see, 80% of Nepal's population is risk from climate-induced disasters. Getting to know these kind of news regularly, constantly on different social media platforms can make you feel helpless, can make you feel anxious about a lot of stuff. I used to get scared. I used to get worried about my future, and not just my future, but the future of the planet. But what comes in the near future that our coming generation will be going through. It's okay to be justified and okay to share what you are going through. I'd like to share my story first. So this is a picture from a climate strike. As you may know, we had a series of Fridays for Future, where a lot of young activists and individuals and many organizations came together on the streets of Kathmandu every Friday. We were supporting the system of Fridays for Future, which was led by Greta Thunberg. Many of us might know about her. So she is initiated Fridays for Future. So we also stood aligned with her to the global movement supporting our local issue. So Save Nishgad issue talks about the protecting the 24 lakh trees that were located on the Nishgad International Airport. And the government was properly dedicated to develop an international airport in the area that destroyed a lot of biodiversity there, a lot of birds and animals. It was one of the solo corridor for the elephants, wild elephants, and the local communities living there, all were in the risk. And while we were like protesting in the streets, a lot of local people called us that they are the development destroyers. They are not environmentalists, but they don't want development to happen just to protect the trees. But can we imagine our future without those biodiversity, without those trees and plants around us? Imagine in the Kathmandu city, we can also see a lot of buildings over and around. We do not have any green spaces. So how that impacts our mental health? So according to a report published, it was mentioned that 62% of youth are anxious about climate change. The report was done by studying the 10,000 young individuals of age 16 to 25, where 62% are anxious, 67% were sad, and 49% mentioned that climate anxiety or climate change, the topic, negatively affected their daily lives. So it's not just about one individual, it's about a lot of individuals that are going through the similar kind of problem. So the study also included that 69% of the global population, those were surveyed, they are going through anxiety when the topic is about climate change. They are not able to openly talk about the consequences that climate change brings to them. While we are talking about climate change and climate anxiety, so I'd like to mention you one of the less talked about consequences that climate change has to offer. It is called non-economic loss and damage. As we all know, loss and damage is occurred due to multiple natural and climate-induced disasters such as floods, landslide, maybe extreme heat events. So in Nepal, Nepal is also like mentioned as the high in risk, vulnerable country in context of climate change. 80% of Nepal's population lies on the risk of natural and climate-induced disasters. So while we are talking about those loss and damage frequent events every year, we completely forget about the consequences that is not just economic or physical effects, but also that is maybe in terms of mental health, in terms of health or culture, or forced migration. We don't talk much about the non-economic loss and damage. So vulnerable communities are experiencing heightened stress levels and major changes in their way of living. People are forced to migrate from their household, from their villages. They are forced to change their job just the sake that they are impacted by climate change and disaster and extreme heat events. So you can see these are some of the PTSD checklist for loss and damage. So PTSD means post-traumatic stress disorder. So these stress disorder are specifically for loss and damage that I got chance to perform in a rural area of Sindhupalchok. So the checklist mentions that if you are having repeated disturbing and unwanted memories of certain specific stressful experience. For example, it can be landslide, or that year maybe agriculture was not as the produce was expected, or maybe the species were lost in some certain area. So if you are getting some of the experience similar to these, maybe disturbing incidents, then you might be one of the you might be facing one of the PTSD consequences. So there are also mentioned that repeated dreams of stressful experience can be the checklist for PTSD. So these are the things that you can identify your mental state, and if you are going through some of the mental problems that you can look into. So this is one of the resource that we collected from an organization called Akar Mental Health, who supported us to do the survey. So you can see if you are feeling jumpy, or if you are having difficulty concentrating, trouble falling or staying asleep. So these are some of the information we can use to identify the problem. So moving on, stories from Nepal. So in 2022, I got chance to do a project in Sindhupalchok, which is located in Pokhari. So I got chance to interview a grandpa, I call him. So he is 72-year-old grandpa from Gunsa, Sindhupalchok. His name is Tirtha Bahadur Gole. So he shared his experience of past 60 years living in the specific Gunsa village. So he mentioned that there were recurring landslides happening in that area. One particular incident, he mentioned that in 2071 there was one specific landslide that swept away the whole village of their area, and all the members, the people living in that village, had to move their households, or find a new job to sustain their lives. He also mentioned that the streams and rivers are drying up. The agricultural produce is not happening the way it was expected to be. The water resources are not there. The biodiversity is losing. We don't see the birds that we used to see past previous 10 years. So, and all these symptoms, like he mentioned that he is extremely scared when it rains, because the landslide is mainly caused during the monsoon season. He also mentioned that the flash flood of Melamchi 2021 gave everyone in the village scary dreams, because they had already gone through something that loss and damage offered previously. So moving on, another story from the similar area. There was a kid, 12-year-old kid. He mentioned that the school that he goes was closed for 3 months because the school was located in a flood prone area, and the students and their lives were at the risk because during the monsoon the water was the flash flood was in the river, and the school was highly impacted. Not just the infrastructure, not just the basic, it didn't not just impacted the infrastructure of the school, but also impacted the basic right to education, because the comparison between the people living, the kids living in the city area and in the village, they have different kind of struggles that can directly lead to the impact their mental health. Moving on. So what I have to offer for you doing all this survey and all the research in specific topic of climate anxiety, being someone who has encountered the problems, I experienced that I need to share my story to people wherever I get chance to. And while I was doing that, I found that it's not just me who is getting the scary dreams of the future, this unpredictability of the planet, or the unpredictability of the future of the planet. It's a lot of people who are going through the same thing. So collectively, what we can do is we can share our stories, our struggles to each other, so that we get to know what we can do forward. One small action doesn't give you the problem, but collective, a lot of actions together, small actions, big actions, like any kind of action will help to bring the positive change to the community. Balance is key. Action is the antidote to anxiety. So I'd like to invite all of you to share your story. If you are facing through any kind of mental health issues, or be it about climate anxiety, let us join together and bring small actions together and talk about the issues. Thank you.